I never thought I'd die podcasting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend?
I could do that.
All right, welcome back to Project Geekology episode 33. We are 5 weeks late. First and foremost, I apologize. That first week was entirely my fault. We decided, Jen and I, to go strawberry picking while the strawberries were hot, and then it just went all downhill. I got sick the next week, and then Anthony, you got like crazy sick. You want to walk us through that a little bit?
Yes. So I ended up getting COVID-19.
Never heard of it.
So yeah, I was pretty sick for the past couple weeks. I finally recovered sometime mid last week. Even then, like afterwards, I still felt a little off. Had this like weird like brain fog that apparently comes after you experience COVID. But
yeah, you had told me that you were like clear the previous weekend where we usually record, and I was just like, all right, well, let me know if you're good to go. And the day of, you were like, dude, I have like the craziest fog. Like I can't put my words and my thoughts in order, and I felt bad. So
right.
It took another week.
Yeah. I mean, technically, like I was, not sick. Like I wasn't bedridden last weekend, but yeah, I wanted to make sure that I had like my thoughts and that I could actually, focus on doing the podcast rather than having a floaty mind,
Yeah, and to be honest, like the past couple of weeks, I've had like a slight cough that I just couldn't kick for a bit. I've pretty much finally kicked it, so that's good. So it was going to be kind of a struggle for me not to cough on on the podcast, but here we are, 5 weeks later. Hope you are still here. Hope you're still listening. We're going to be talking about Return of the Kings, especially Part 2, the extended edition, obviously.
Of course, yes. Yes, we're going to be covering that second half. This is a series that we started a while ago, and we've been wanting to finish out the series for some time. Yeah, man, like I've really been missing doing the podcast, but I think that this little break, not that I felt burned out from it, but like I felt the urge to do it even more while I was like away from it. So it's like revitalized me.
Yeah, you wanted to get back into the rhythm of things and like get back to like normal life,
right,
outside of sickness. Well, I'm personally very happy that you're doing well. I know that you got like really sick at one point. You had to go like to the hospital, make sure everything was all right, right?
Right. Yeah, and the cough that I had ended up being pneumonia. And so I went to the hospital because I had really, really like bad, uncontrollable cough. But I was good. My oxygen levels were good. It wasn't like shortness of breath or anything. That's what I wanted to check, because I didn't want to go like too late. They told me it was pneumonia. They did a whole bunch of tests, and they prescribed me, medicine to help out with the pneumonia. And it did. I took it, and it helped out a lot, cleared that up, and I'm good to go.
It's a weird thing to be asking, but what have you been up to since last week? No, what have you been up to since this whole thing, besides obviously like fighting a sickness and everything?
Right. So, believe it or not, like during that period of time, I didn't really want to think too much. So like I didn't really play video games, like, because video games involves, thinking and reflexes and stuff, and that just was not the state of mind that I was in. But I did watch various things. I watched Sweet Tooth at the beginning of it.
You were telling me about that.
Yeah,
How did that go?
Sweet Tooth is pretty cool. It's a post-apocalyptic show, and it's pretty like relevant for what we're going through now. There's this thing that they call the sick, that pretty much like it's like a pandemic happened, but it's like worse than COVID, because there's this thing where like the people's like pinkies would like twitch, and then that's how you knew that person had the sick, and that person was pretty much like dead. If they had it, you saw that they were dead.
That's scary.
And then there's these children that they're called hybrids, and they're essentially humans and animals like mixed together. And so the show centers around this one kid, I forgot his name, but the guy in the show that he follows calls him Sweet Tooth because he likes to eat like candy and stuff.
Okay.
And so he's a kid with these like deer antlers. The guy that he follows, he calls him Big Man. And then eventually they have this girl,
Sweet Tooth and Big Man.
Yeah, Sweet Tooth, Big Man. And then there's this girl that joins their group after a while, and her name is Bear.
That's cool.
But yeah, no, it's a really cool show. It's worth the watch. I think it's really cool, and there's definitely going to be a second season with the way that it ended.
And
hopefully.
It was like super popular too. So
yes.
Yeah. So I do believe it'll get a second season, definitely. Yeah. What else have you been up to besides Sweet Tooth? Obviously, yeah. You said you didn't play any video games, which kind of makes sense.
Oh yeah, you know what I watched? That first week that like I had called out of work. Oh my gosh, dude. I didn't even know that they were making this, but do you remember the video game series Dynasty Warriors?
Yeah.
They made a movie.
Okay.
And it's on Netflix.
Is it the worst thing ever?
And I watched it. And you know what? Like, I mean, obviously it's, it's not the best thing that you're going to watch, but it was very Dynasty Warriors. Like, I mean, they like took...
They were able to capture that feel.
Yeah. Like you can... even with the music and everything, it's like, okay, yeah, this is Dynasty Warriors, and a lot of like the ridiculousness of Dynasty Warriors. I mean, there's like a lot of ridiculous, that video game series is like pretty ridiculous. Though
yeah.
I mean, I like it for, various reasons. I mean, and it's popular because it's spawned like so many different versions. I mean, there's the Legend of Zelda one, Hyrule Warriors, which is essentially the same thing. You're running around as Link and you're fighting against there's an army on your side and you're fighting an army on the other side. There's a Fire Emblem version of it, dude. There's so many different versions of it. There's a Gundam version of it, dude. They spawned so many different spin-offs of that type of game. I don't know if Dynasty Warriors was the first one to do it, but that's the one that I remember.
Yeah, I could see that, and I do remember that myself. So that's kind of cool. So was the movie any good?
The movie was okay. I mean, it was what it was. Like I kind of understood the story, but the thing is that like every time I play Dynasty Warriors, I don't know what's happening in the story. All I know is that the Yellow Turbans are fighting somebody.
Right.
Some
yeah.
army.
It's not
always
like
the
a
Yellow Turbans versus somebody.
It's not like a
heavily story driven like video game.
Yeah, it's gameplay, and
it's really just a hack and slash with a very loose story, really.
Yeah.
All I know is just you're fighting the Yellow Turbans every time. It's always the Yellow Turbans.
It's always. Anything else that you want to add before?
No, nothing really other than just recovering from COVID and watching some stuff here and there. How about you, Dakota? What have you been up to in all this time?
Well, a lot. It's been over a month. So
has it really been that long since we last recorded?
It was, I think, June 13th was the last recording date. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Dakota.
Yeah, it's been over a month.
Oh my, Dakota. How's it been that long? Dude, what the heck, man?
It feels like it's been like 2 or 3 weeks, but it's been like over a month. All right, so let's see. I watched Luca, the new Pixar movie.
How's that?
Dude, it's very good. Like a lot of people, I've heard that some people are calling it like mid-tier, low-tier Pixar, but some of the scenes and some of the story in that is just the best of Pixar for me. It's really, really fantastic.
What is it? What is it like about? Without spoiling it, really.
Well, what's great about it is it's kind of a film about nothing. as well as it is a film about just learning who you are as a person, as a boy, trying to expand out into the real world. And it's just it's more about the journey than the destination, if that makes any sense.
Is it kind of like a coming of age story, or?
A little bit. It's a little bit of a coming of age story. It's a little bit of an acceptance story. It's a little bit, but essentially, Luca is a sea monster in like the waters around Italy, and he comes into contact with another sea monster. And the two of them become quick friends. They have their sights on like a small town in Italy, and like as soon as they come out of the water, they instantly turn into humans. It's just the nature of who they are. For whatever reason, once they dry, they pop into humans, into human form.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, if you get the opportunity, definitely watch it. It's free on Disney Plus. You don't need the Premiere Access or anything. But speaking of Premiere Access, I also watched Black Widow. I saw that in theaters. Actually,
I have not seen that yet.
That was the first movie I saw in theaters since like over a year ago. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot that like I haven't finished Loki because I didn't want to watch it while I wasn't feeling good, because it's something that I actually really enjoy. And I want to watch it when I'm feeling good. You know what I mean?
Loki was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, the last episode that I watched was when they went to that planet that was like doomed.
Lamentus, yeah.
Right. So that was the last one that I had seen before, like, I got COVID. And I thought about it. I was like, maybe I can watch Loki, but I want to. The thing with Loki is that you really do want to pay attention, and I was not in that frame of mind. I mean, that's the reason why I didn't play video games. So how about this? Next week, let's do Loki for the podcast. Yeah, let's do it. I can catch up on it.
Yeah, it's so good, dude, and it's relevant right now. It's such a fun thing. So if you have noticed something off with my voice, I recently got a Invisalign put in, so I might have a little bit of a lisp. I'm trying to hide it as best as I can, but sometimes the S's kind of roll a little bit, and I'm not too happy about that. But so I'll have the Invisalign in for a couple months, unfortunately. But as far as what else I've been doing, so Loki was fantastic. Black Widow was good to like an 8 out of 10. It's kind of every Marvel movie is good. Every Marvel movie's good. They haven't had any like serious duds. So it's kind of just in that lot, like not the best thing I've ever seen. It's not the Winter Soldier or Infinity War, but it's not the Incredible Hulk or Thor: The Dark World. It's just kind of like in there somewhere.
Yeah. To be honest, those first two Thor movies, I wasn't a fan. The second one, I wasn't a fan of like the most. But when Ragnarok came out, dude, I absolutely loved Ragnarok.
The feel that Taika Waititi was able to conjure with like making it feel like a comic book in terms of like the trippiness of the 80s vibes that he had going on. It was super cool. So Ragnarok is in my like top 10 for sure. But Black Widow was great. Luca, highly recommend, especially if you like have just kind of like brushed it off as just another movie. I love that movie to bits.
I saw it on Disney Plus, and I think I had put it on my list. Because it looks interesting. It does look like a cute movie. There's a lot that I need to catch up on. Yeah,
for sure. Luca will make you tear up, for sure. I watched Bo Burnham's Inside.
Oh, right.
That came out about a month ago.
I think you told me about that.
I did. I texted you. He's like a comedian / musician who's been... he started on YouTube, like way back when, 14, 15 years ago. And he kind of just blew up in popularity. His previous stuff was a lot more raunchy, a lot more, I guess, like you would say insensitive nowadays, but it was still very funny. But he started doing Netflix specials. I think this is his third Netflix special. And basically, at the start of the pandemic, he decided he was going to lock himself inside a room and make a comedy special. And it took him about a year to fully finish it. And it's just it's a whirlwind of emotions. It's very good. Yes. All right. We're almost coming up on 20 minutes of discussion. Why don't we jump into the main event and finally finish our discussion of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the extended editions by Peter Jackson.
Yes. Let us finish our discussion on Lotter.
And it's kind of weird coming back to this almost, a little over a month later.
I know. But, I'm still baffled that it was over a month. I thought it was like 3 weeks ago.
And it kind of feels that way. It didn't feel like it was that long. It might have felt like that for to you, listeners. But we hopefully we can like get back into the swing of things with this finale, because we do want to finish this off like on a bang, because it's the finale of a 6-part series that we started a couple months ago. But I'm super happy that we did it this way, in terms of breaking up each of the movies in halves, to talk about the first half of Fellowship, second half, then Two Towers, both halves of that, and now Return of the King, because it has allowed us to breathe a little bit. It's allowed us to talk about some of the finer details, like some of the stuff that I really loved about talking about Lord of the Rings in the past couple episodes was diving into like the great music that Gandalf uses as like a power source, and some of the finer things like that. It just kind of opens up the world a little bit, and hopefully you guys learn something and experience the Lord of the Rings trilogy in a new way with this 6-part series. So this movie is broken up at the point where they first bring out Grond, the fiery-headed dog battering ram thing.
The wolf's head.
That gets its own chant. Yeah, the wolf's head. Sorry, I think I said the dog's head as well in the last episode. It's a wolf's head.
Yeah, they're like, bring up the wolf's head.
You're right. Oh, and we got a comment. I can't remember your name at the point of speaking this, but we got a comment a couple weeks back speaking about Bill the Pony, because we called him Bill the Horse.
Oh, yeah.
we upgraded him to a horse.
Him.
But yeah, Bill the Pony instead of Bill the Horse.
Yeah, back in our part 1 of Fellowship, which was ages ago.
Yeah. So that's where Return of the King ends, at the introduction of Grond. And I always love that scene, because the entirety of the orc army is just going nuts over this stupid battering ram. It's like they treat it like a god, because you hear them start chanting Grond, 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 and it's not a living thing, dude. It's just a freaking piece of metal that has fire in its mouth.
Right. But you could tell that, when Gandalf saw that, there was a concern in his eye when he saw that. I don't know if you noticed that. Yeah. There's a lot of moments with Gandalf that are worth talking about in this half of Return of the King. And that's one of them. Because he, especially in that battle during Gondor, he was stretched thin. He really was.
He was being called from like the gates at the bottom of the city up to the top of Minas Tirith, way down into the middle, fighting the Nazgul or the Witch King of Angmar. He was literally the all commander. Over the place.
He was the commander.
He was the commander by default, because everyone else that should have had that position, Faramir, he was incapacitated during that battle. The steward of Gondor, Denethor, was going crazy, telling everybody that they should flee their posts and die.
Yeah, I loved it when Gandalf smacked him in his, smacked him one.
Yeah, you mean when he's on? Yeah, when they're on the pyre.
Right. No. When this is
before
from
that.
From the last episode when Faramir gets pulled in by the horse, and they bring Faramir, like a severely wounded Faramir to Denethor, and he thinks that Faramir is dead. And so then Faramir, Denethor finally realizes that like the entirety of like Mordor was on their doorsteps. And when he said to flee, Gandalf smacks him with his staff. And I love that look of disgust that Gandalf has. He's just like, ugh, this piece of crap.
Yeah, he really does. It's like someone like, trying to like get crap off of the bottom of their shoe. He's just like, I can't believe I have to deal with this right now. And
yeah,
I do like that scene because he immediately like turns the tide of battle, because Denethor is like scaring the troops. Frankly, he's just like, abandon your posts, flee for your lives, and Gandalf is just like, prepare for battle.
I know. He's out there with Shadowfax.
I know. So the film actually, after the Grond scene, we immediately jump over to what's happening at the riverside with Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas. And they just come out of the mountainside.
I love this scene.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, they had come out of the mountainside, and I think that this was like a few scenes ago. They had seen the pirates, going through the river on the side, and Aragorn was essentially at a loss because he's like, I don't know what we're gonna do, and then and we talked a little bit about this in the last episode, that the army of the dead or the king of the dead agreed to to fight for Aragorn, and this is where so in this scene, this is where they actually confront the pirates, and they're like they're essentially like, stop and prepare to be boarded, and like the pirates are like laughing, they're like, okay, like, and I love what was it Aragorn tells Legolas to fire a warning shot, and I love like Gimli, he like hits
he hits the bow staff as he fires.
He hits the bow, and then he kills, and I think that's Peter Jackson, right? That was Peter Jackson, yeah. And so I loved Gimli's reaction when that happened. He's like, ooh.
But I think he wanted that to happen, like Gimli is like chaotic good.
Right. And then like when that happens, he's like, all right, you've been warned.
So they end up, kind of like telling them that they're about to be boarding all of their ships. And they're like, you and whose army?
Classic
and it's
line.
like, this army. And it's just an army of green ghosts that have the faces of old men and soldiers and stuff. It's actually
such an OP. They're so OP.
They're too OP. I mean, that's actually probably my biggest problem with this movie, in terms of the level of power that the ghosts have, the army of the dead. They're too powerful. They cannot be stopped. They're just like a swarm. They can't be killed. And they're kind of like the god in the machine, the Deus Ex Machina of this battle at Gondor. Because even at the end of the day, if Rohan couldn't do it, if the forces inside Gondor couldn't do it, the ghosts are always going to be able to like win the day at the end of the day. They stroll through, and you just see like Oliphant starting to like go down. You see, these are like later into the movie. I know I'm getting ahead of myself. But that is my biggest problem with with that is my biggest problem with the Ghost Army. It's just either way they were going to win, because they had this I don't even know what to call it. basically they one-upped the ante.
It's funny because I've gone back to this throughout the series, but in Battle for Middle Earth, there's different powers that you get throughout the game, and like the top power that you get is the Army of the Dead, and they are so OP in the game. Like, I mean, just absolutely OP. And then the top...
I mean, they're OP in the movie, too.
They're OP in the movie. The top power that you get for the evil side is, if I remember correctly, the Balrog. You can summon a Balrog.
To Gondor?
No, because you could play good or evil.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So just
That's
imagine... just imagine being able to defend and siege Helm's Deep. Like, you could play like both ends.
That's cool, bro. That's cool. All right, so we go back to Gondor, and they have breached the city with Grond. And I like the scene where Gandalf is like, no matter what comes through the gates, you stand your ground. And then like 4 huge mountain trolls, or cave trolls, armored, dude, just bust through the gates, and Gandalf's face is just like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, because they just get they get destroyed. Like, there was no chance of living for the people in front of that gate.
Yeah, man, that was crazy, because they're armored and they had these like giant clubs. But they did. I mean, they were taking him down with arrows. Yeah,
they were. Meanwhile, while all this fighting is going on, we do have the Steward of Gondor, taking Faramir up to the halls of his fathers and stuff, the halls of the kings of Gondor, basically, where they would entomb all the kings and all the noble people of Gondor. And Denethor is all like, there'll be no tomb or no funeral for Denethor or Faramir. And he calls for wood and oil. And at that point, this guy's just lost it. Obviously, he's lost it a long time ago. He's way too emotionally compromised for the position he's in.
But the straw broke the camel's back when he thought that Faramir was dead, because he was... I mean, you could see how like all sense had like left him. Like, you could see it in his face. Like, he was just absolutely not there at all.
And I almost wonder like what was his problem at this stage, because even if like any of his soldiers could have told him that Faramir is still alive, they could have felt for pulse. They could have seen his chest rising and falling. But it was still about him, and I think that's the problem, with Denethor. Like, he made everything about his line had ended, and he had given up on Faramir so long ago that by the time he actually saw Faramir, fallen to a point where he was almost dead, he just called forfeit. He quit right then and there, and all sense of his, mental faculties just left him, because, again, it was all about him, all about his lineage, and all about his own pride and the kingdom of Gondor that he was ruling. And once Boromir was dead, and Faramir too was nearly there, like I said, he gave up. And I think that's what ultimately cracked him. Not love for his son, but love for... Or pride in himself and his offspring was just thrown out the window.
Well, remember Gandalf, he used that... What was the thing that you called? The music?
Yes, it's interesting.
Did
you notice it?
Where he was like, your father loves you, he'll remember it before the end.
It's interesting. Yeah. Gandalf does use the great music in that scene, and he also uses it as Faramir is on fire and stuff. He uses it a couple times in the second half of the movie that I noticed. And I only notice it because I have studied a little bit since we spoke about it on the podcast a little while back. But there are moments in this movie where Gandalf just says something, and either it happens or it's about to happen, and it's almost as if he's reading from a novel. You know, it's almost like he's reading a statement of fact.
When this moment's about to come up where Pippin he goes to stop, you know, Faramir from being burned alive, and Denethor kicks him out, and so he goes to get Gandalf.
And poor Gandalf, like, he has to go back and forth and back and forth.
I know, yeah, Gandalf, he's like back and forth saving Faramir, and
I don't know if you noticed this.
Dude, essentially no, you're good. Essentially the commander of the armies of Gondor. He's been the commander, and then, you know, and I'm feeling so bad for this army, because I mean, dude, they're getting torn up, man. If it's not the orcs or the trolls, you gotta look up, because you got the Nazgul coming down and swooping, and I mean, it's really just like unfair. Yeah,
they did not have it easy. They definitely, if they didn't have help, they would have been wiped off the face of Middle Earth.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, that was just
so
crazy.
Gandalf follows, or he takes Pippin alongside, like, Shadowfax up to the tip of Minas Tirith and into the caverns, that, you know, the tomb, and the face that they, like, give Gandalf, like the makeup under his eyes, like, he looked drained. I don't know if you noticed it, but, like, he looked like he hadn't slept in 3 days, but he had to be there, you know, he had to be the one to take control of the situation, because nobody else was. None of the soldiers that were under the employ of the Steward of Gondor or anyone else had the mind to stop Denethor, even though he was a crazy mess.
For real.
So Gandalf had to take that step, and
yeah, I mean, but he still had this, like, he looked drained, but he still had, like, this energy, because, like, when he, like, when Shadowfax, like, kicked open the doors, he yells out, "Stay this madness," and then he takes that spear. And you know what's crazy is that even with all this stuff happening, none of the guard around them goes to try to stop Gandalf.
Because I think that they also realize
that Denethor's crazy.
It's almost like, well, it's like the scene in Rohan when they first show up, and some of the guards are trying to fight Gandalf and Aragorn and everyone, and then some of them are, like, holding the other guards back because they realize, no, this farce has gone on too long. Yeah. So I think that's what was happening in Gondor at this point. But as you know, Gandalf hits him with the staff and knocks him out, and Pippin jumps onto the burning pyre to knock off Faramir, essentially saving the Steward of Gondor's life, or the successor of the Steward of Gondor, I should say. Awesome for Pippin. You know, he if Pippin wasn't there, Faramir would have died.
Yeah, and this is like one of those moments. I mean, we've already gotten past that point, but this is where this is definitely one of those moments where you really do realize, like, Pippin is not the same person that he was in the beginning of the movies. You know, he's grown up, he's grown a lot, he's experienced a lot, and he's not just the goofy one of the bunch, you know?
For sure.
He's contributing.
Yeah. And contributing meaningfully, yeah.
Right, exactly. And you know, something that I think, that I was just thinking of right now, right before this moment, I think Denethor was planning on burning himself too.
Yeah, because he
poured that oil. Yeah, so, like, I think he was like, I'm done.
When he walked into the thing, he says something along the lines of, Denethor and Faramir aren't to be like buried like our forefathers or something. I'm butchering the line, but he says something to that effect. So he was planning to kill himself.
Right, and then like when he's like pouring the oil, he's like, "Let us pour oil in our flesh," or something like that.
Yeah, it's a little creepy.
It was really creepy. but yeah, Faramir is saved, and Denethor essentially gets what he wants. But then, like, right in the end, he does notice that Faramir is alive. Right in that last moment before he's like set ablaze. But and this is the moment where you're talking about, where he's like running out, and then Gandalf says, "So passes Denethor, steward of Gondor."
Yeah, and he hadn't fallen to his death yet. So like, there could have been a way that he could have, like, you know, stopped, dropped, and rolled or something. Oh, actually, no, he probably couldn't have, because he was covered in oil. But yeah, so he was gonna die either way. But it is cool that Gandalf, you know, just said the line. You know, it was almost, he was like speaking it into existence. And yeah, so that's one of the cool lines that I noticed it. And another one, I'm going to skip to the end here, because the other time I noticed that Gandalf did this is when Aragorn takes the throne of Gondor at the end of the movie, like one of the endings. And, you know, he puts the crown on Aragorn's head, and Gandalf says something like, "So begin the age of the kings," or something like that. And
oh yeah,
Aragorn looks at him like, "What?" But yeah, it's just a cool power, dude. I want to make a video about that. I'm thinking about that now. I feel like dissecting the times that Gandalf uses the great music, and like what that means for like Tolkien lore.
There you go.
I think that'd be a cool video.
Now you can watch the movies all over again.
Dude, I can't wait.
So yeah, Denethor, you know, he's gone. The crazy the crazy guy is gone.
Good riddance.
I know, seriously, he wasn't contributing at all. You know, he was, you know, destroying the spirit of, you know, a really good character, and you know, he just was not doing his job, really. He really was not doing his job, and he had no mental clarity. Like, even before, like, the end, like, even before he died, like, he was gone. He was far gone.
There was no value to his being the steward of Gondor at that point. So yeah, several times throughout Return of the King, we have seen that this is a character who just has no value in terms of, like, the post that he's in charge of. And a steward is one who is supposed to be looking out or looking after a post, you know? A steward is not the king, per se. It's the guy who sits in the king's seat while the king is away, you know? And because the king hadn't been in Gondor for, I don't know, decades, centuries, he was the one who was sitting there in place of a king.
He wasn't even really sitting on the throne. It was like a little throne below the throne.
Yeah.
It was like, it was a steward's throne. Because, like, you know how there's those stairs that went up to, like, the actual, like, throne? Like, right next to where he was sitting?
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was crazy. He wasn't doing his job correctly. He had to go.
Let's jump over to the Rohirrim.
Oh, man. I love me some Rohan.
Yeah, the Rohan stuff is awesome. The Rohirrim are awesome. The fact that Éowyn and Merry were both told that they shouldn't join the battle, that they shouldn't come to battle in Gondor, but they both found, you know, a partner in each other to uplift them. Is really cool. You know, like,
right.
At this point, in this history of, I guess, the world of Middle Earth, females aren't meant to go to war. You know, so she was doing something totally against the grain, and she wasn't doing it for personal glory. She wasn't doing it because she wanted to, you know, be like the men. She wanted to do it because she wanted to fight for her people. And I love that about her so much. She's such a strong character. And Merry too. Like, he has that little speech where he's talking about, I just want to, like, I know that I'm not going to be able to do much. I just want to help my friends.
Right. And yeah, I like that heart to heart that he has with Éowyn. And he essentially tells her that, you know, she's somebody that's like, you know, somebody that's like, you know, loved and, you know, cared about, you know, that she's somebody that she wants to fight. I mean, that she has this sense of duty to fight for her people and to fight for Middle Earth, and that he wants to do something about it too, even if it's a little bit, you know. And
if there's anything that he can do, he wants to do it, and it's a super noble cause, obviously, because he's very small. He's literally a halfling. He's half the size and body mass of everyone else on the battlefield, even Eowyn.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it's essentially like a small child fighting.
Yeah, but obviously he has the heart of an adult and everything.
Yeah. No, of course, they're adults. They're just the size of children. They're small people.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really do like Mary's character.
All the hobbits come into their own.
They really do
by this film. Obviously, like, Frodo was kind of like a fully formed person by the first movie, in terms of he knew what he had to do, and he knew from the start that it was probably going to be something too much for him to bear. You know, like, there was a depression that you saw setting in the first movie that kind of like drove all the way into Return of the King. But with Sam, you know, like, he was just like going to be Frodo's partner during it. You know, he was just going to help him get there.
Right. He goes from dropping some eaves to becoming
holding some Frodo.
I ain't dropping no eaves. I love that answer that Sam gave in that first movie.
And that's very
I'm just trimming the bushes.
That's very yeah. That's very Tolkien, you know, like,
I know, he's like, a little late to be trimming the bushes. What Gandalf?
A little late to be trimming the verbs.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, that was awesome. No, yeah, Sam, and we're definitely gonna talk about. And I mean, I personally, I'm why I personally think that Sam is the hero of the story, but you know,
you're not wrong, and I think Frodo would agree with you. But let's continue with Rohan. So they get called into battle, and they start lining up, and oh man, it's such a great scene. Seeing, really is. You know, like, the huge army of Mordor, you know, outside of Osgiliath, and then just over the hill, you start to see, like, you know, light shine through, and just hundreds and thousands of horses and men on horseback, you know, start to line up. And then, you know, they're led by Theoden. There's
that extended edition scene that we forgot that happens, and the reason why I'm pointing it out now is the arrival of the Rohirrim interrupt this moment, but the Witch King and Gandalf, that little face off that they have,
yes,
and that scene was pretty crazy. Gandalf and Pippin, they were heading somewhere. I don't remember exactly where they were heading. Were they heading back to the troops?
Was that before or after the scene with Denethor and Faramir?
I'm pretty sure that was after. Because
that would make sense, because
the Rohirrim show up and kind of interrupt that moment.
We'll be back after a quick break.
I hate talking.
Do you love talking about any topic and are never frustrated during conversations? Then I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if there are topics that you avoid, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Do you know the definition of every word others use? I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if you are curious about the definition and historical usage of words, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Do you know about current events and other random topics? Then I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if you enjoy conversations on a variety of topics, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Listen to I Hate Talking wherever you get your podcasts.
Episodes drop every Thursday. Listen, like, and follow I Hate Talking today.
And it was actually like it was a losing battle between Gandalf and the Witch King of Angmar.
Yeah.
At least from what we saw, because and yeah, you're right, because Gandalf hits Denethor with the butt of his staff, but later on when he's fighting the Witch King, he gets the staff shattered.
Yeah, the Witch King raises his sword, and it's crazy. It's like this power that like implodes into the sword, but then it shatters his staff. It shatters Gandalf's staff and knocks him off of Shadowfax. He's about to go for Gandalf, and bless Pippin's heart, he's like, no, I'm not gonna let you do it. And then like the fell beast like kind of roars at him, and he's like, oh, what am I doing? He like backs up real quick. But yeah, like Gandalf was like in that moment would have probably been killed had the Rohirrim not showed up.
Yeah.
And then they blew their horns. But dude, I love the moment that they show up.
It's a beautiful scene, and this is the first time that I've gone through the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I think, with subtitles on. And I've noticed a lot, like, I know how to spell a lot more things now. Because when you hear it over and over from the films, like, you just kind of have this idea of, like, how it's pronounced and how it's spelled. But, certain Elvish words and stuff, you don't really understand, like, what's being said or how it's spelt until you see it written out in subtitles. But the scene with the Rohirrim is a funny one, because the chant that they say, I never realized that they are all yelling death, because it doesn't sound like they're saying death, because they're just kind of like yelling. But Theoden starts this chant where he's just like, death!
Oh yeah.
I didn't, for whatever reason, I never caught that they were saying death. I just thought it was like a yell, I just thought it was like, ah!
Oh,
and
yeah,
that everyone was following suit.
No.
But everyone is saying death,
Yeah, no, I caught that. Yeah, that was when he had that really nice, that really, like, uplifting, or, like, that really, like, adrenaline pumping, speech. Man, that look that he has on his face when they go over that hill and see that army. They're like, literally, he's like, man, we are probably all going to die, but we got to do something. And that's why they have that death chant. That's why they're like screaming death. They're like, we're probably all going to die, but you know what? Go big or go home.
Yeah. And I do love that scene so much, because by this point, thanks to Aragorn's lead in the previous film at the Battle of Helm's Deep, I think it's kind of taught Theoden how to lead in battle. And that's not something that I don't think that he ever had, but I think that that's something that he lost over the years, because he's in the last film we started talking about, or in the past couple episodes we started talking about how he starts talking about for death and glory, and then Aragorn corrects him and he's just like, for your people. Yeah. And that's when he realizes that's what we're fighting for, And I think that helped him get to that point in this movie where he's leading 1,000 Rohirrim or so. And yeah, it's a moving scene, and the music, dude. There are some,
I know, like, yeah. I love Rohan's theme. There's like
the Rohan theme, and how basically the whole Howard Shore soundtrack for
of course,
the trilogy is just, it's probably my favorite ever, for anything. But whenever there's like the Rohirrim like running down a hill towards an army of orcs, it's just such a crescendo of emotion. And yeah,
and the way that the movie is composed, and they do this several times throughout the films, and I absolutely love it every time they do it, because it really just, for me, it increases the moment. But like the moment where they charge into the orcs, like the Rohan's theme is going on. They're like, they're like rushing I always laugh at that one guy that's like, I mean, he's like really like riding his horse like hard. He's like, you know exactly, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, yo,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm about to take out some orc. That moment that they clash, the music like stops.
Oh yeah, they do it really well where it's like they decide that the music will be traded out with the sound effects of battle.
With the sound of battle, and like, I don't know what it is, but every time like that always gives me chills. Like it's just, yeah, it's like a trading of like sound. You have this like really inspirational music, and then like here's the action, and I love it every time. Like I absolutely love that they do that in these movies.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. And speaking of that scene where they're charging, it's fantastic because we see. I love the part where like, you know, Theoden's running up and down and he's like hitting his sword against all of their spears and stuff, and you see Mary and Eowyn, you know, just like getting so involved and emotional in the fight for their lives, the fight for the fate of humanity, basically. But when they start chasing down the orcs, Gothmog, the leader or the orc general, he's just like, fire, and you know they release 2 volleys, and then he realizes that barely stopped any of them, and he's just like, fire at will. You see the fear in his eyes all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And this is a character that we've just like, you're meant to hate, you know, you're meant to just like, this is a disgusting being that just needs to be washed off of the battlefield, and all of a sudden you see the fear in his eyes and you're just like, yes.
I don't, and like he was like such a like odd character, like he could like barely walk, like his hand was like, he was like very like, I don't know, like you know what I'm talking about, like the way that he was, like he could barely like hold.
He was deformed.
He's like very
he had
deformed.
some
Yeah,
deformed.
but yeah, that was that clash was like really really cool. Like Rohan, like I mean they're kicking some like serious butt. Like the orcs are like freaking out. They kind of have them scattered. And they start running. They start like breaking rank and they start running. But lo and behold, what happens next, Dakota?
Oh, sorry. I totally forgot what was happening. Yeah, Oliphants. Time to come in. The evil men are bringing their Oliphants, and you start to hear their chants like, "Hoorah!"
Yeah,
and
right,
just like,
right, and then here we go. Theoden's like, his like face drops again. He's like, oh my gosh,
just like
this now.
This is exactly what we need.
It's like for real. They're like, yo, what are these gigantic things?
And what's great about that, like talking about what you were saying earlier, where they traded the music for the sound effects. As soon as you saw Theoden's face fall at the sound of like the coming army of like Oliphant riders and whatever,
right,
you stopped hearing the sound of battle, and all you heard was the chanting and the horns of the people on the Oliphants, and it's just like, here we go.
Right, and then they have and then Theoden he tells the Rohirrim to line up again, and like I mean you start hearing music again, and then they start charging, and then that happened, the trade-off of music and battle happened again when they come up to the Mumakil, which is like the other name for the giant Oliphants.
Oh yeah, the Oliphants. Yeah.
And like the music stops when they start like swinging their tusk. They kitted those things out like crazy, because they had spikes on their tusk. And then they had a couple of them where they had this like giant spike thing that was connected between their tusks. That would like that. It was essentially like a lawnmower. Dude, and like they were messing them up. And then
quick, I don't know what's happening outside. I hear like a lot of gunshots.
Really?
And it's not rare in my community. It's because I live in like a more rural area. It's hunting rifles I can hear, but it's just a lot of them. So I don't know. It's probably it just stopped, but you could probably hear it in the background of my audio. So that was weird. I thought it was thunder at first, but it's not raining. So I don't know. Whatever. Maybe it's fireworks. I don't know, but it's off in the distance. It sounds like gunshots. Yeah. So the Mumakil just start tearing down the riders of Rohan, dude.
I mean, yeah, they're going in on him, and I mean they're still fighting hard though. The Rohirrim are still like going in, and then I mean they're shooting arrows at him. You could see a lot of them with like a bunch of arrows like on their bodies. They look like cactuses with all the arrows like in their bodies.
Those poor creatures.
I know, seriously. They take down a couple, focusing their fire like at their heads. Even Eowyn takes down one with like she steals a sword from an orc and then has her own and then like cuts the legs.
Yeah.
And so she
actually that's a fantastic scene.
Yeah.
What a fantastic way of because it's not like, how do I describe it? It's a skilled move, but it's not something that you need a lot of like physical power to do, So she found a weak part of the elephants or the Oliphants and the Mumakil, and she used it against them.
Right.
Like it was literally their Achilles heel. Yeah, I love that because it was a very practical way of taking it down. Empire Strikes Back style.
They didn't tie up the legs.
That's true.
No. But I know what you're talking about. They went for the legs. The one thing that I did notice, and I think there's a difference. There's a difference between the evil men and the Haradrim, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the Haradrim.
You're right. There's also Easterlings.
Okay.
There's Haradrim.
I think that
and then there's the evil men in the second movie.
The Easterlings were the ones that were on the Oliphants, I think, right?
I think they were the ones who were going into Mordor as Frodo and Sam got to the Black Gate.
Okay. Whatever happened to them? They like disappeared.
I don't know.
They literally like disappeared.
The Easterlings.
Because we saw who fought in the battle of Pelennor Fields, or did I say that right? Is it Pelennor or is it?
That's Pelennor was in
Pelennor.
Mordor.
Yeah. Pelennor is the field in front of Minas Tirith.
Oh, you're right.
But then when they get to the Black Gates to fight, you just there's no like Easterlings there. It's just all orcs and trolls. That's what I was just wondering. So this battle is going crazy.
I'm looking it up now, and apparently the Easterlings were present in the Battle of Minas Tirith. They were only featured in a couple frames of the movie, but in Chapter 6 of Book 1, it does say, I'll read this out to you. Hard fighting and long labor they had still, for the Southrons were bold men and grim, and fierce in despair, and the Easterlings were strong and war-hardened and asked for no quarter. And so in this place and that, by burned homestead or barn, upon hillock or mound, under wall or on field, still they gathered and rallied and fought until the day wore away. So basically the Easterlings, they died in front of Minas Tirith.
Army of the Dead. No, I was just curious because like you never really see them again, or you don't see them ever again. I didn't see them in any frames. I guess I need to like pay attention. But yeah, so there's a moment that happens. I don't know if Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas show up before or after this. Theoden gets taken down by the Witch King, and then he goes to pretty much like finish the job. Eowyn witnesses this, and like she's kind of distraught, by seeing this, and Theoden is like pinned down by his horse, and like he's like really injured. The Witch King.
It's actually it's a really like weird scene. I mean, it's not a weird scene. It's a powerful scene where like you see Theoden realize that the Witch King, the Nazgul, is coming straight towards him.
Yeah, no, like you see he's looking directly at it, and like you see his reaction. He's like, oh. like he knows that his like time has come, essentially. Like he knows he's about to die. But yeah, so he's pinned down by his horse. He's severely wounded, and the Witch King pretty much goes to finish him off, and then Eowyn intercepts it. I mean, that scene is really cool. The Witch King says never get between a Nazgul and its prey, and Eowyn's pretty much like, if you touch him, I'll kill you. I mean, she's like really, the thing I like about Eowyn is that, in this moment, and I mean, a lot of people, I mean, pretty much everybody would probably be experiencing this. She's probably terrified in this moment, but she's like got this,
absolutely. She's
mustered this, maybe through the adrenaline of battle, but she has this just courage to, she wants to save her uncle. She takes down the fell beast,
in two swings. In two swings.
I mean, like, and she's got some good reflexes, because she dodges the bite and then she just like cuts the head off.
Yeah.
And
I will say, either that sword is like very, very sharp, or the fell beast has a very like not thick hide, like a very soft hide, because it just like sliced almost all the way down the first slice.
She had that. Remember, she said, "You got to sharpen up your sword. You got to go to the smithy."
That's actually, yeah. Maybe that was foreshadowing the fact that she would destroy a fell beast.
She wanted hers extra sharp.
She chopped that like it was sushi.
She really did. And so the Witch King goes down off of his fell beast, and comes up with like this insane like morning star, I think it is. Like there's like that really big like
that mace with
the chain,
yeah.
Like, I mean, Eowyn's got some like really good like footwork, because I mean, for the most part, she's dodging this thing. And
well, what's good about like facing off against something that large is that the mace itself is so big that it's slow.
Yeah.
Even with a lot of power, you can't swing it fast. So.
Right. And then she blocks it with a shield, and it shatters, and her arm is like straight up broken after that.
Oh, absolutely.
Like her arm
there's no way.
Like because you see the pain in her like face when that happens. She's like, oh, like, I mean, it hurt.
Yeah.
And then
that just shattered. That not only shattered the shield, it shattered her arm.
Yeah, pretty much. And she gets helped out by Mary, who like, which is interesting, because like he stabs the leg, and it looked like it like burns him. Like it burns him.
Well, it's interesting because he then goes. The Witch King goes, "No man can kill me." And that's what Mary is. He's a man, even though he's not like he's not necessarily of the human race. He is a man of Hobbit race, and that's when she says the one of the best lines ever. I am no man.
When she like takes off her helmet.
I'm looking at the quote from the actual book, and I have to say, as like powerful of a moment that Tolkien wrote, the movie did it better.
Oh, really?
So she goes, "But no living man am I. You look upon a woman. Eowyn I am, Eowyn's daughter. You stand between me and my lord and kin. Begone, and if you be not deathless, for living or dark undead, I will smite you if you touch him." And that's a powerful line, But the simple "I am no man" with a sword through his face, is just succinct and just awesome.
With the scream in the face.
Yeah, dude, it's one of the best. It's probably one of the best scenes like in the whole thing, and they did that again in Star Wars Rebels, with Ahsoka fighting Vader, and he calls her a Jedi, and she goes, "I am no Jedi." and that's when they start like dueling like crazy. That's one of the best like Star Wars fights right there.
But yeah, no, that was a good scene. The Witch King dies really weird. Like, instead of like exploding or falling over, he implodes.
That happens to a couple things. Like you mentioned it earlier when he was fighting Gandalf, and his sword kind of had that ability.
Where like sucked in like the atmosphere like into the sword instead of emanating outward. It like and you
it's almost like a black hole type magic. I don't know.
Right, and like the sound that it made also kind of like took the sound out of the like area. Like right before right before the staff shatters, it kind of, I don't know, the atmosphere goes, gets drawn into the sword, and then like there's that moment of silence, and then the staff shatters. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and it also happens at the end with Sauron, where like the whole like as the tower's falling, and at the end of the movie, I'm skipping ahead again. As the tower's falling, you hear the sound, and like you just see like energy like kind of like convulsing into the eye before it just explodes. It must be just like it's probably just a stylistic choice that the filmmakers chose to visualize their power set, or like what happens when they fall. It's almost like a vacuum of energy behind them, or like a black hole sort of thing. So that's kind of cool. We haven't spoken about Frodo and Sam at all throughout all of this.
Right. Yeah, no, I thought we were covering.
We should actually finish covering that because we're pretty much at the end of it. We covered like 95% of it.
Right. So like after Eowyn kills the Witch King, she goes over to Theoden. Theoden actually seems like pretty relieved to like see her face.
Well, it's interesting. He says the same thing that he said to her right after the spell was broken in the Two Towers.
Right.
Where he goes, I know that face. Yeah. It's a fantastic little parallel there. And unfortunately, it's one of the last things he says before he dies. But he's happy to see her, and it's almost like he's recognizing her value as a soldier as well as a family member and a loved one.
Right. Yeah. I think I don't know if it was earlier in the movie or if it was the last movie, but he does mention, there's that moment where he mentions that he should have loved her as a father. A lot of the way that she sees him, and the way that they can connect is that she does see him as like a father. And I think that that's why she like fought so hard to defend him, against the Nazgul, against the Witch King.
Yeah. Really quickly, Gothmog ends up kind of breaking up this moment between them. And that's when we see the end of Gothmog finally.
This is when was it Gimli, Legolas, and Aragorn show up with the Army of the Dead. And it's crazy that they all they took the pirate ships and pretty much snuck. They used it to sneak up on the orcs, and the orcs are they're saying late as usual pirate scum or something like that.
Yeah, they're like there's knifing to be done.
Yeah, they're like and then you just see Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas hop off the ship. And they're kind of we're about to, they're like, oh, who are these guys? Okay, we're gonna take them down. And then it was when they saw that Army of the Dead, they're like, oh crap, what is this? And then that was pretty much it, man. The Army of the Dead, they come through. I mean, there's some really cool moments, with
Legolas is able to take one down by himself as well.
The Oliphant, that really crazy moment, where he's climbing up and killing, the Haradrim, or is it the
No, it's the Haradrim, yeah.
Yeah, And like I love, like, obviously in like true competition, that he's counting as he's killing them. And then like he has like that really cool moment where like he goes down the side and then like uses his like that dagger, one of the daggers he carries to like cut off that like carriage thing that's on top of the Oliphant.
Yeah, effectively and, like, killing everyone on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously takes out the driver or the handler, and then kills the Oliphant. And then I absolutely love what Gimli says after that. He's like, that only counts as one.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's just what Legolas accomplishes in that feat is something that Gimli couldn't ever fathom doing. Like there's no way Gimli would have ever been able to do what Legolas did in terms of just being as agile or nimble.
Right,
as Legolas is.
Right, Gimli
so
is more like
it is
brute
a funny
force
comparison. Yeah, he's a brute force, get him done kind of guy. Versus like it was a very strategic move where he like climbed up the side of all the arrows on the legs and arms of the beast, and onto the stomach and side of it.
Right,
as well as like taking out everyone on top. But yeah,
I mean, I will say that like I'm not sure if Legolas would be able to lift the way that Gimli can, because remember like that in that last movie where he's lifting up 2 wargs and like an orc.
Yes.
I was like, yes, I mean, he's strong. Was it Gimli's really strong? Like, I mean, you don't see it all too much, but like in that moment, like when I really like was watching it, and like I noticed it a few times before, but I'm like, yo, man, this guy's like lifting these like really heavy like wolves, and they're like way bigger than he is. He's like a small guy, but he's lifting these things up. But yeah, no,
it's that dwarf strength of his,
right? But yeah, man, the army of the dead. I mean, they come in, they clean up shop. Like
they definitely
they clean up shop. They go through the city, clearing everything out. Killing all orcs and everybody in their paths. Well, not everybody. I mean, they're obviously not killing any of the people, but I mean, they really. I mean, they really did hold up the end of their bargain.
And it's interesting, like, Aragorn didn't have to let them go, the army of the dead, in that moment.
Right. And in all seriousness, like, I'm actually surprised that he did release them in that moment. I would have been like, look, we just have one more thing we have to take care of. And I said, and I will keep up the end of my bargain. I mean, even Gimli was like, don't let them go. they're pretty handy in a tight situation. But I don't know. Like, I think I would have kept them for that last fight, and then I would have been like, you guys are good to go.
Yes, I think also the fact that it shows the type of character that Aragorn is, like he's a man of his word, if nothing else. And the dead have fulfilled their oath to Aragorn and basically like fulfilled everything that he required of them to be released from, this like limbo of death that they're currently in. And right. I don't know. I appreciate the fact that he let them go in terms of, just he kept his word, and that's how you knew he was going to be a good king. Obviously, you knew he was going to be a good king because he's Aragorn and he's like a great leader and everything. But the fact that he kept his word to people who he didn't have to keep his word to because they were already traitors and everything is pretty cool.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying to not keep his word. But I mean, technically, he still needed their help, at least for like that last moment. Then I would have been like, "Hey, man, the ring was destroyed. We did what we needed to do. Let's do it." Unless I don't know, unless it would have been hard to draw the armies of Mordor out if they were looking out and they'd be like, They have this green army of death over there. I don't know if you want to, but then again, I mean, they could have very easily just gone up into Mordor and killed all the orcs. They could have gone.
Yeah.
They could have gone through the gates. And be like, all right, so like, can you go into Mordor and take out all the orcs? We need to clear up some space for our boys that are gonna be walking through. He's like, all right,
Right.
all right. So yeah,
Well-
that's pretty much what happens on this end.
Before we jump over to Frodo and Sam, from the perspective of Gandalf and the team, they realize what Frodo and Sam have to be doing at this stage. Obviously, we're skipping a little bit of Frodo and Sam's story, like with Shelob and stuff, for the time being. But let's talk about the fact that they knew that they needed to give Frodo and Sam some help.
Right.
So that's when they decided to march onto Mordor to draw the armies out, because otherwise there'd be 10,000 orcs between Mount Doom and Frodo and Sam. So there would have been no way, had they not gone in that instant, like right after that battle, to like help them out, for them to have accomplished their thing. So
Right.
that's where I guess that's a good spot to leave that side of the war for now, so that we can go to Frodo and Sam.
Correct. So on this side, the last time that we had seen Frodo and Sam, Frodo had kicked Sam to the curb.
Brutally.
Yeah, brutally
kicked him.
He had gotten tricked by Gollum, and now they're at the top of the stairs, and so they're going into Shelob's lair. Like Gollum kind of like runs in, like far ahead, leaving Frodo essentially to like wander in there by himself. And so
It's actually kind of a cool thing, but it's like, with the fear that Frodo initially feels when he enters Shelob's lair, it's almost like he sobers up, because up until this point he's just kind of like been like being dragged along by the ring. He kind of has had that like stupor about him as they've like pretty much since they've like gone up this path into like up to the Shelob's lair place. He's had this air of like not being present. Like his mind is being clouded and foggy by the ring.
Right.
Kind of like how you were last week post-COVID.
Right. Yeah, essentially. I mean, yeah, that's actually a good way of like saying it, because I mean, that was like literally how I was feeling. But yeah,
But like as soon as he goes in there, he sobers up like real quick.
right.
He's just like,
He's like,
uh-oh.
yeah, he's essentially like, now that I'm here, I don't think I want to go in.
And Gollum is basically like, it's either you go in or you go back. And that's like the worst thing for Frodo to hear, because in his mind he's been telling himself for months, I have to keep moving forward. So by Gollum telling him it's either this or you go back, Frodo can't go back anymore.
Right.
Like he's had it. He needs to go forward and just push on to the next challenge. So they go into Shelob's lair, and it's a trap. We knew it was going to be a trap because of like the ending of the Two Towers and everything. But dude, when I was younger, I had like pretty bad arachnophobia, and I think this might have been the movie that kind of gave it to me for whatever reason.
I remember watching this movie at midnight on opening night. And I remember this moment in the movie, and I remember like the audience, they're kind of like, oh my god, like he's like he's dodging he's dodging Shelob, and he brings out that was it the star,
the light of Eärendil.
Oh yeah, the light of Elendil. Uses it to kind of like fight off Shelob. Gollum Gollum like kind of gets like pissed because he kind of dodges Shelob, and he tries to like take him out to get the ring.
There's a moment in that where I've been misinterpreting it for a long time, where Frodo is trapped in that wall of webs, and he's starting to like slash his way through, and Gollum's on the other side of it, like looking at Frodo, but he sees Shelob in the back.
Right.
And I've always interpreted it as Gollum being scared that Frodo is getting free of the bindings, because he is slowly like whipping like the webs back and forth to a point where he's able to get out. But Gollum actually leaves the cave before he's able to totally free himself. So I'm assuming he's actually scared of Shelob getting closer and closer instead of Frodo getting out and attacking him.
Yeah, I think I remember being confused by that too, because I wasn't too sure if he was scared of either or. But I think if you really look at him, when he has that reaction, he's looking at Shelob.
I think so. Yeah, because it's not until Shelob starts to get close that he's just like, I gotta get out of here.
I know. Yeah, I remember that moment in the movie theater. The audience is like, they're kind of like not like screaming, but they're like kind of like, like get out of the web, go, 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 like that kind of thing. Like he gets like freed, and then I think it was after that moment where Frodo and Gollum have that scuffle.
Yeah, they start fighting on the on the other side of the cave, and Gollum is just like, he's kind of at wit's end too, where he's had this plan for who knows how long to kill Frodo and Sam, and they keep getting free.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're free again. He's just like, no, he says clever hobbits to climb so high later on in the movie, but in this point he says something along those lines where it's like, clever hobbit got free or something, and they start fighting, and he starts hitting Frodo's head on a rock, and Gollum is like very vicious when he fights. Have you noticed? Like, it's not just like a he's not boxing or anything. He's there to like do permanent damage. And
yeah, for real. And then there's like that little song that he sings that I was telling you about earlier, and it really just bothers me that ending part just doesn't rhyme.
Yeah, you texted me. You were like, why doesn't he instead of saying like, because the word would have rhymed with death, but then he goes eaten.
Yeah.
Instead of death. Yeah.
Was it? I think he's like, pretty little fly, why does he cry? Caught in a web. And instead of soon you'll be dead, he's like, soon you'll be eaten. It's like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, it is.
It's so odd. And like, I always like notice that moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, Gollum, what are you doing? If you're gonna sing a rhyme. But yeah,
the scene where Frodo, like after that, after Frodo throws Gollum off the cliffside, and you see Gollum supposedly, like, how many times has this guy died supposedly, but like, he's going down a cliffside, so you assume he's dead. But just after that, where Shelob, you start to see climb out of her little hole, and Frodo is just, he starts going back into that little like daze of like, he doesn't really know what to do besides go forward. And then Shelob gets him.
Well, there's that.
There's
that moment
what?
beforehand. At some point when he's in the cave, where he like kind of passes out, and he ends up in like Lothlorien.
Yes, that's a great scene actually.
And
because it's almost like, as the audience, are we supposed to believe that he actually had that communication with Galadriel at that moment, or was he dreaming that out of some mix of memory and purpose?
Yeah, I think it was like a hallucination / dream, but like, it was kind of weird though when
when she lifts him.
When
right?
she lifts him, because
because he almost like he jerks up.
Jerks up as if somebody actually did lift him up.
And I think
so he
there might be something
that he might have had that connection, you know. But yeah, it really does look like he gets lifted up, and like between, so there's like a scene between, you know, Frodo kind of running through the caves and stuff, that Sam, he gets towards the bottom of the stairs and he sees the Lembas spread that Gollum threw, and he gets pissed. He gets pissed and looks up and he's like, you know what, I'm going up there. He's like, I don't care, I'm going up there. And
he was ready to throw Gollum off the mountainside.
Dude, yeah, in that moment he's like, I'm gonna just murder this guy. I mean, he was ready to like take him out, like almost like as soon as he came into their lives. Like, I mean, he's been ready to like just throw it down on him.
Yeah, he doesn't trust him
at all, and for good reason. Yeah, Shelob gets Frodo. And I remember that moment. Oh my gosh! In the movie theater, everybody was kind of like, "Oh."
I know, because after everything, poor Frodo just gets stabbed in the gut with some toxin from a giant spider. That's disgusting and everything. What's cool about that scene,
what I'm thinking is that, like, I mean, that thing was huge and fat. So he must have had like a hole in his body.
It was the size of a knife, or like a,
like he got like stabbed. Yeah.
When it comes to Shelob, what's interesting is that she doesn't allow Frodo to fall to the ground. Like the moment he starts like tipping over, she catches him in her web and starts wrapping him up,
right,
in the web and everything. But it's almost as if she doesn't want to bruise the body before like she eats it or whatever. But it's a really it's a weird attention to detail that the filmmakers chose. Like next time you watch it, as Frodo starts falling, you'll notice that the spider reaches underneath it to catch Frodo before he hits the ground.
Right. No, yeah, I had seen that when I was watching it today. But yeah, so she wraps him up in her web. And here comes our boy
Sam, bro.
Yeah. I absolutely love Sam. Just like, I mean, throughout the movies, but like, I mean, from this like moment, he's just like, I mean, he's like just in just heroic mode.
The rest of the movie,
for the rest of the movie, yeah, he's like, let him go, you filth, and like he's just, dude. Big old freaking spider, dude. And like he's just like, I mean, he's ready. Like he's like, and he goes straight for it. He's like I don't know if you noticed, but like that whole fight, like he didn't really hesitate. Like he was like dodging, cutting away.
Yeah, he was dodging the not the pincer. He was dodging the
like, I mean, like instantly that they start fighting, the like leg comes down and like he hits it.
Yeah, he takes an eye out.
Yeah,
he stabs it in the abdomen or whatever you call that, thorax.
Yeah, there's
spider have a thorax.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like I mean, he's like intentional. Like he's not hesitating in the fight at all. He's really like pushing to. Even like, I mean, he's like being like really crafty about it, dodging the stinger.
I don't think Shelob died.
No.
Fight.
No. Shelob definitely didn't.
Definitely got hurt.
Got wounded enough to like know that she needed to retreat.
Yeah, it's a pretty pitiful screech that she makes. That. As she like goes back into her cave, and you almost feel bad for it a little bit, but then you realize it's a giant spider.
But yeah, and then like after that, it's a little sad because Sam thinks that Frodo is dead. He Sting glows blue, showing that there's orcs nearby, so he goes and hides. And then the orcs, and then he finds out that Frodo's not dead because of the orcs. He's like, oh, he's not dead. He got stabbed. He got jabbed by Shelob. And they take him up to the tower. I love Sam. He's like, he's not dead. Dang it, Sam. Like he's like talking to himself. Sam, you fool.
Yeah. But again, here comes Sam, the hero of the story again.
I know.
Where he's like going up the tower.
Oh my
and he starts.
Gosh, dude, I love it.
The shadow of Sam going up. He's like, and then it's just a small hobbit, and they start fighting, and he goes, "This is for Frodo. This is for the Shire, and this is for my old gaffer."
I know. I know. He's like fighting with the sword and like a pan.
Yeah, and what's funny about that scene is that the orcs start fighting over the mithril shirt that Frodo was wearing.
Right. There's like it's like absolutely ridiculous. Like with everything that's going on in the world, the Uruk-hai and the orcs of Mordor like have this like civil war up in Cirith Ungol. They're like fighting. Yeah, I mean, like I'm pretty sure like tensions were like high, and that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. That was like literally like hilarious because they're just like, oh my gosh, they're just like fighting each other, and like the fight, the crap is like hilarious. But yeah, like that happened like before Sam shows up. But like in my mind, like if I was Sam, I'd be like, what's going on? Like what's like who's fighting up here? Yeah, because like you could hear like when you're coming up, you can hear like the clashing of like swords and stuff.
What's weird is that the person that started the fight, like a smaller orc in comparison to the other people that he like starts fighting with, but like the entirety of that little area, the tower of Cirith Ungol and everyone around it, kind of stormed inside to like join in on the fight. And yet the guy who got out alive was the original guy who started the fight because he wanted the mithril shirt. How did he live?
Yeah, like I was wondering.
That's a resilient orc.
So he wanted to take all the stuff to the eye, and it was the bigger the Uruk-hai that wanted to take it for himself.
You're right.
And yeah, because I'm pretty sure like the Uruk-hai probably didn't really have loyalty to Mordor. Because they were originally with Isengard. And the Uruk-hai probably were like, yo, we're better than you. We're stronger than you. Like, what do you need it for? Like, why? And so, yeah, like, so I'm pretty sure that, like, the tensions were, like, pretty high already when it came to that. And, yeah, they were... Maybe. That fight was, like, a waste of...
manpower.
Yeah, it was a waste of manpower.
So Sam gets up to find Frodo, and Frodo's just waking up. He's just realizing that he doesn't have the ring on him anymore.
Well, he saves Frodo by stabbing that orc.
Yes, yeah,
and like, and it's actually like a really cool moment because the orc's like, oh, I'm going to stick you like a pig or something like that. And all of a sudden you just see like Sting sticking out through his body and it's like glowing. And then like Frodo's kind of like looking at him like, they're like, what the heck? It's like, oh my god, it's Sam.
Not if I stick you first.
I know, I love Sam. Sam has some like really good lines.
But then there's that scene where... Sam like says that I took the ring because I thought you were dead.
Right? Yeah. Frodo thought that they had the ring. He's like, it's over. Like they have the ring, and then
good on Sam. Like he made the right choice for the wrong reason. Like obviously he thought that Frodo was dead, so he took the ring not for himself, but
to finish the job.
To finish the job. So good on him for having the foresight to do that, even though his best friend had just died. But also good because the enemy couldn't get it as well, you know?
Right. No, it was good. Like, you know, he grabbed it. You know, it was a good, like, executive decision. You know, like, I mean, it's like, he thought Frodo was dead. He's like, Frodo's dead. That means this is on me. I need to go do.
He did have a moment where, as he was handing the ring back to Frodo, and Frodo's like, "Give me the ring," and Frodo starts freaking out because, you know, he's addicted to this substance. You know, Sam also kind of gets influenced by the ring.
Right, like he goes to hand it, and then he like pulls it back just a little bit. And I think this is supposed to parallel what happens in the beginning of the movie with Smeagol and Deagle. You know, like they were best friends, yeah,
and they were fighting over the ring. But Sam is a better person than Smeagol was,
right?
Obviously, you know, and he wouldn't. It just shows like his willpower and his character is so much stronger than that of Smeagol or Deagle because they didn't have to fight for. Even though they were both being drawn by the power of the ring.
He kind of like snaps out of it and like hands the ring back.
And Frodo is right, like only he can really accomplish the mission. You know, obviously he needs as much help as possible, but the task was given to him, as Galadriel said earlier.
Right.
When during that hallucination / helpful vision.
Right.
So I think that because of that line from Galadriel, Frodo also has this, I guess, feeling or inkling that it has to be him that ultimately takes the ring and not Sam or some of the other people of the Fellowship. You know,
right.
It has to be him. So it's interesting. But they get out of there. They take some clothes from some of the fallen orcs in the vicinity, and they make their way over to the Mountain of Doom. To
Mordor, and then
they're in Mordor at this point.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, like where they see, I forgot what the like. I'm talking about like the main area, like the field fields that all the like the tens of thousands of orcs are on. And then they start seeing the orcs leaving towards the Black Gates, you know, and it, you know, from what we talked about, where Aragorn and company and like all the armies kind of draw them out, you know, so that Frodo and Sam have like a clear shot to Mount Doom. They get caught up with some orcs. You know, they're in their little getup, but they get caught up with some orcs. It's crazy because there's that moment where like the ring gets like really heavy, and the effect is really cool because you can see like the chain pressing against his neck, and Sam like notices it,
and that's to like go along with the fact that he's been wearing this extremely heavy object around his neck for the past couple of months or like almost a year at this point, where it's digging into his flesh, and you know it constantly changes from hot and cold, and it gets heavier and lighter. It has a weight to it that isn't just a physical weight. You know, it's something more powerful than that.
Right. Like it's physically heavy, and it's also like heavy to the point where it's like it's dragging him down in like multiple ways. Like it's draining him. It's crazy because he can't hold himself up, and they you know, one of the orc captains like kind of noticed that Frodo's like leaning over, and
speaking of that orc captain, that is the creepiest costume for an orc ever, where it's like nose was cut off and it was just like black flesh on all over his face, like it was a rotting face. Dude, it was the creepiest looking orc ever. And he squealed like a pig, like.
Right. Yeah, no, that sounded weird. It sounded like a bull or something. But yeah, like, Frodo's like, push me, and then they like start like pretending to like fight, and then like I don't know how they do it, but like they start fighting, and then there's like a group of orc, and then they somehow like find a way to like even though they were like the focal point of the fight, they were able to like sneak out.
I think the whole point is, Sam has just seen how orcs are so willing to fight one another.
Yeah, after Kid Ithungol.
And they kind of use that against them, Or actually, no, it was Frodo who's like, fight me,
Yeah.
He was the one who saw the how quick they were to fight each other. So it was actually his quick thinking that saved the day there. But they got into a fight, and then the people around, or the orcs around them, also fought. But while we're on this topic, the reason they were even swept up in this orc procession in general is because just outside the walls we have the armies of man. Massing outside between Gondor and Rohan. You got Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas, Merry, Pippin, everyone really. Gandalf is there, and they're about to start a war.
Yeah,
they're trying to draw the armies out of Mordor so that Frodo and Sam have a chance to get to Mount Doom.
Right.
Go over the plains of Gorgoroth, or whatever it's called. And this is one of the scenes that is very specifically in the expanded edition or extended edition, is the scene where they're outside and the mouth of Sauron comes out.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's
such a creepy...
What a creepy thing. I did some research and digging on like who this guy is, and he was originally a human who was just such a sycophant, such a mouthpiece, literally. All he was good for, all he did was, kind of like spur on the words of Sauron, be like a messenger of sorts, to the point where everyone forgot his name. Even he forgot his true name, because his personality became Sauron's, basically. And the fact that they like covered everything like with his helmet except for his mouth is just super creepy. And he needs to go to the dentist. I think he's got some gum problems.
He really was creepy. And like that smile. And then
and it was like a weird smile, and he, like his laugh was just like ha ha ha. And it's like, what was wrong with you, bro?
But yeah, he kind of, but he did kind of like chip at the morale of the Aragorn and company, because he had that mithril shirt that Frodo has, and shouldn't I have saved him from Shelob?
Dude, I was just thinking about that. It depends on where he was stuck, because if it was like below the shirt line, I guess. But no, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, that should have stopped Shelob from attacking.
I mean, if it stopped a troll from like skewering him.
Yeah, so I don't know. It might have been a plot hole there. Might have been a plot hole.
But yeah, I was just thinking of that. But yeah, so he kind of chipped a little bit at their morale.
And Merry and Pippin, they almost start like crying right there. They start like, no. And Gandalf is like, quiet, like to like petulant dogs at this point. But the fact that they have so much love for their friend, they're not, at this point, they're not scared of him. They're not scared of the mouth. They're just in so much pain because they think that their friend is dead.
Right. And then what does our boy Aragorn do?
He just strolls over, he rides over a little bit. He's just like, all right. And then he just slices the head off of the mouth of Sauron. And he goes, I do not believe him. And
which is good.
That's good, yes. Because, at that point, I think they ultimately would know if Sauron had the ring. Like, there would have been a drastic change
Right.
And the
yeah.
power level of Mordor, we probably would have seen a physical manifestation of Sauron come forth, basically, at that point, you know?
Right.
Like we had 3,000 years ago.
Right. Like that's essentially like that's like the piece that he needed to get back to where he was, you know? Like, I mean, it was essentially, you know, kind of like, you know, Lord Voldemort, you know, he needed some stuff before he could actually come back. So yeah, the armies are gathered outside the Black Gates. I think after that moment, the Black Gates start to open up, and then the armies of Mordor, you know, they're coming out, and then yeah, we have Frodo and Sam. They're inching their way to Mount Doom.
So they're inching their way over to Mount Doom, and it's becoming a serious struggle for both of them. You know, Sam is exhausted. There's one point where Sam is literally like passed out beside Frodo as they're climbing up the mountain.
And you know it's hot. Like that ground is hot.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It was steaming.
It's not like they're wearing shoes or anything. Why would they be wearing shoes in a volcano? But anyway, so they're going up. They're struggling. They get spotted by Sauron. You know, they get spotted by Sauron just as like the armies start amassing outside. And it's not until Aragorn chops the head off of the mouth of Sauron that Sauron's eye like turns its gaze at the Black Gate to allow them to continue passing through the field.
Right.
And there's a number of like really great scenes in this little montage. Like there's one where both of them are kind of pass out, and Frodo gets this like second wind of like, you know, we're so close, and he starts like climbing up, and you hear like you know, simple Shire music play in the background, and it's almost like he's getting a little, like I said, a second wind, but it's short-lived because he trips and he passes out again. And that's when we start having Sam start to say, you know, do you remember the Shire?
No. That's like after the fact, when the deed is finished. No. This is where Sam is like, you know, his great line, like, I might not be able to carry it for you, but I can carry you, and like lifts Frodo onto his back. And like
no, he does. Sam actually does have, like, he has the scene at the end, like after the volcano, where they're reminiscing about the Shire.
Right. But we're not at that point just yet.
Oh.
They haven't thrown the ring into Mount Doom yet.
I know, but before this happens, before they even enter, there is a scene where he's talking about the Shire and everything, and Frodo's just like, I don't remember the taste of food. I don't remember the Shire. Blah blah blah.
No, I thought that was after.
He starts talking.
I thought that was. I'm pretty sure that was after they threw the ring into Mount Doom, because that was because in that same instance, that's when Sam was talking about how he would marry was it Rosie, I think it was. And then you're confusing these two scenes, because Frodo does go at that point where he's just like, all I have is like, he starts talking about death, and like all he sees is darkness and stuff, and that's when Sam's like, so let's be rid of it, and then he goes, you know, I may not be able to carry the ring, but I can carry you, and that's when he puts him on his shoulders. But later on, after they put the ring into the fire, it was Frodo who starts talking about the Shire and talking about like what he can remember, because suddenly he has this big weight lifted off of him. He can now remember who he was and the Shire and everything. And that's when Sam goes, Rosie Cotton dancing. And then they were talking about strawberries and cream, and then he said that he can't recall the taste of food.
Yeah. So they do get into. Oh, before they get into it, another encounter with Gollum.
Oh yeah. As Sam is carrying him on his back, and then like that was like a short-lived moment. They climb up a little bit, and then Gollum just got to mess up the situation all over again.
Clever hobbits to climb so high, and then again. Like I'm kind of at this point in the movie, I'm so over the drama with Gollum because I just want it to be. I want the struggle to be over.
Really, yeah.
For the hobbits.
And Sam, Sam is tired of it too. He just wants to kill it. He really does want to like kill Gollum. But yeah, like in this moment while all this like scuffling is happening, there's like a gigantic battle like happening in front of the Black Gates. Where like literally everybody, like literally that's every army and everybody willing to fight that's left or that can fight that's left is fighting, essentially.
And it's a great scene. There's so many great scenes in this movie, but this one is one that is just instantly iconic because you see the gates opening up, you see the armies like surrounding the armies of men.
Yeah.
And, Aragorn turns around and, you see tears in his eyes. And at that point, like you can kind of picture that he is feeling like he's sacrificing his life because it doesn't seem like a fight that can be won, at this
right
stage.
Yeah, there's like literally the entirety of the armies of Mordor like right there.
It's a fantastic line where he just goes for Frodo and he starts charging, and I love this scene every time because the next people to charge are the two hobbits,
right?
Because they love their friends so much that they, no matter what, they have no fear of the enemy. They're gonna do what they can to help their friends, and then you have the rest of the army following suit. So that battle is raging while Sam is, fending off Gollum.
Right.
And then as soon as Gollum is like kind of like knocked out of the fight for whatever reason, Sam looks around and like Frodo's all of a sudden he's got another wind of like speed, and he's literally running into the volcano as they speak, or as they're fighting.
Right, which is like a smart thing because he like took the opportunity. Like Gollum is kind of like preoccupied, but yeah, like when they get in there, it's crazy. It's almost kind of like a moment where you see Frodo with the ring over the lava, and it's almost like what happened 3,000 years earlier with Elrond and oh my god, why am I blanking on his name? Isildur. So essentially it's it's like what happened between Elrond and Isildur, where Isildur refused to cast the ring into the pit. He has a moment and then he like puts the ring on his finger, and the pain in Sam's eyes where he realizes like, no, please don't tell me that I've lost my friend to the ring, because finally it's gotten to the point where Frodo's not capable of doing it. He doesn't want to fight his friend to put the ring into the fires, but he's willing to. I think Sam would have been very willing to fight Frodo to get the ring into the pit. Yeah, I think so too. And then you just see like Gollum pop out of nowhere with a rock, hit Sam on the head, and then like jump onto, and then he like tracks Frodo by looking at like the footprints in the dirt, jumps onto his back, like dude, bites his finger super. What happened? And bites his finger off, dude. Like that, like every time I see it, like, oh my god, dude, that's painful as heck. Like just like imagining that, because you can picture it. Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those
it's one of those like pains that you can feel on the camera, you know?
Right. And then like you just see him like take his finger out and just like toss it.
Yeah, it's actually really gruesome. Like that's probably like one of the most gruesome things in the entire trilogy.
Right.
And it's something that like gets me every time. Like, whoa, it got really gory.
And you know it's crazy, and you know that this is like 100% adrenaline, but like Frodo still has like the energy to like fight Gollum, and he's like fighting Gollum like, you know, for the ring. You know, really, in the end, you know, I mean, obviously with the assistance of Frodo, Gollum was the one that destroyed the ring.
It's interesting because if Gollum hadn't fallen into the thing, Frodo wouldn't have thrown the ring in there himself. So I'll talk about that in a little bit because I think that comes up later thematically. But Gollum, man, like he's like in the lava, burning alive. All he can think of is like to lift the ring above his head so that it stays safe.
Right.
And then like I don't know, I don't really understand the physics behind what happened, but it's almost like the skin around Gollum's hand like cauterized and created like a barrier between the magma and the ring itself for like a couple seconds or whatever, and it just kind of floated above the magma.
Right. And I think just like with the type of metal and like the magic that was on it, like it took longer for it to melt than like maybe like something normal. Like if they like threw a sword in there, it would probably melt like a lot faster. But like so before that, you know, so like, you know, the rings like in the lava. So between these moments, it cuts between what's happening with Frodo and Sam and this battle that's out in front of the Black Gates, and obviously the Nazgul come out, and they, you know, they're coming in, they're about to get ready to fight, and then their Gandalf gets kind of like that confirmation, like the moth shows up that the eagles are there. So like then the eagles come in and just like absolutely just destroy the Nazgul.
Yeah. Which is weird because, you know, the Nazguls have home field advantage.
Right. But I think like with the way that the eagles are, like the eagles, it's just the eagles. With the Nazgul, it's the fell beast, and then, you know, the Nazgul on top. So there's probably like not as much that they could do, but the eagles, they can kind of cut in, cut out, like go as fast as they want.
Right, not as much coordination between the Nazgul and the fell beast versus, you know, the individual eagles and their natural like prey like instincts or predator instincts.
Right. And they were destroying the Nazgul. But like, I mean, even then, like that battle was like kind of going south a little bit. Like it
Aragorn was about to be like destroyed by that
troll, right? But so yeah, like that the battle's like raging, is going crazy, and then we kind of like we cut back, and you know, like the ring is like definitely like taking ages to like melt. The inscription on it lights up, which it doesn't like in the heat. And then like it just like melts away.
But before this happens, Sam saves Frodo, who fell off the edge and is like hanging and dangling. And Frodo, you can see it in Frodo's eyes, like it's almost like failure, you know, where he seems like disappointed in himself for not doing what he had to do, but also just exhausted from months and months of travel and, you know, getting to the point where he is. And this is the last, barely sleeping, barely eating,
barely drinking.
Basically you the past couple weeks, you know?
Dude, yeah, like I know how Frodo felt. Just maybe not as hot.
Maybe not that hot, yeah. But so there's a great line from Sam where he's like, "Don't let go," and the music with that scene is fantastic, especially as they finally like clasp arms and, you know, he picks him up.
Right.
And that's when the ring melts.
Right. And you could see the look on Frodo's eyes where he was fully prepared to let go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like he had like, it probably would have even been a relief for him to let go, you know, because of all that he had been through. But he saw in that moment the pain in Sam's eyes, and I think it was because of Sam's determination to help. He didn't want to let Sam down, I guess. So anyway, the ring melts, and the Eye of Sauron goes crazy. The tower starts to buckle, and there's that big explosion that takes out most of the armies of Mordor.
Right. And it's really crazy because like the floor starts to cave in, and it caves in and like starts taking out all the orcs, and then it kind of goes like into like a semicircle around the you know, the good side, you know, the good people.
Yeah, and obviously there's some sort of divine intervention or magic or some
the great music.
Good versus evil. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but like clearly something was happening there that you know, protected the victors of the battle.
Right.
But in that moment, everyone's cheering for Frodo because they know what happens. They know that the ring has gone into the fire, into the pit, and it's destroyed. Sauron is gone for good now. But all of a sudden, the place where Frodo's supposed to be blows up.
Yeah, I mean, it really does explode. And I mean, it really gets you thinking, like, how the heck did they survive that? Because the way it exploded, like the whole inside of the volcano would have been affected too. But that must have happened. There must have been, like, you know, maybe like a difference in time. They might have escaped before it exploded.
Right. There must have been some difference in like the chronological placement of the individual scenes, because we did see the magma rising.
Yeah. As
they were walking out of the volcano. Which I'm assuming is before the entire top was blown off of it.
Right, you know? Right. So yeah, that's how I thought of it. That there was probably, you know, like on their end, it looked like they exploded, but then when it cuts to Frodo and Sam, that hadn't happened just yet.
In all reality, though, there is absolutely zero way that Frodo and Sam wouldn't have been cooked alive, even on that rock.
Oh, yeah.
They would have been rotisserie chickens.
Rotisserie chickens. But yes. Yeah, no, they were just like laid out, and they were fully prepared to die right there. They were prepared.
They had that whole talk, and they're talking about the Shire and
what Sam would have done, and
and you feel bad, you know, because to them, their story's over. You know, they've already thrown out all the goods that they brought on their journey, because, you know, Sam was just like, there probably won't be a return journey.
Right. Yeah, man. Yeah, that and then remember Sam, he was like, he just had that hope in him, and then he got to the point where he realized, like, you know what, Frodo, you're probably right. We're probably going to die.
And the best line in that little moment is where Frodo goes and says, I'm glad I'm here with you, Sam, at the end of all things. And it's just a tough line to wrap your head around, not because the world is literally ending, but for them it is. You know? Everything that they have lived up until now for is coming to a close. Yeah. As they're literally surrounded by lava.
Yeah, I know, man. They were fortunate that they didn't get cooked by that lava.
Very fortunate. It was a magic rock that they lived on, that they spent some time on. So here we get our first fade to black, our first ending of many. Then the next scene pops up. The first, the next ending is, Gandalf showing up on some eagles. I'm happy that Gandalf, of all people, is the one that, conducted the search and rescue party.
Yeah.
It just goes to show like how much he cares for the hobbits.
Well, it made sense. I mean, he was the one that had that connection with the eagles too, and yeah, it was crazy. I think that if I was picked up by an eagle and I flew in its talons the way that Frodo did, like if I wasn't out of it, I would probably be like freaking out, like, oh god. I would be like, oh my gosh, oh my. I'd be like, dude, do not let go. But like Frodo was just so out of it, he just didn't care. He probably thought he was hallucinating it. In all honesty, he probably didn't think it was real.
Yeah, and that scene fades to white, instead of fading to black, because it's not like they're technically two scenes that connect. Frodo is like kind of like delirious on. Actually, before we go to that, I do want to mention, because this is a really important thing. As soon as the ring was gone, you could see Frodo was able to stand up straight. He wasn't hunched anymore. He had a clarity of thought all of a sudden. He's just like, it's gone, and he didn't have that desire for the ring anymore. At least not in that moment.
Right.
And,
I mean, he was able to like sprint out of that place with Sam.
Yeah, and jump onto the rock and everything.
Yeah.
But like he actually says something basically like, I'm free, or he doesn't say that, but you could see it in his face, just like relief. The burden that they've had to face for so long is gone. But anyway, so they're on the eagles, and then it fades to white, and he's in Rivendell, and everyone kind of like files into the room and jumps onto the bed.
Right, but he sees Gandalf first. Gandalf's the one that's in there. And it makes you think that, everybody besides Sam and Frodo have known that Gandalf has been alive. So, like, this was like the first time that Frodo has seen Gandalf since Gandalf went off that edge.
You know what? I've never thought about that. That's crazy. Yeah, actually, you're totally right. Yeah, that's the first time he realizes that Gandalf is alive. What a fantastic thing to see first thing of waking up. Yeah, that's cool. I never thought about it that way.
And I like how they go with, just that they're laughing. They're probably like, just like the relief, the way that they're expressing that relief is laughter, He's probably like in his mind, like, oh my god, I don't know how I'm still alive, but you know what? I'm just gonna laugh it off.
And the great part about that scene, while everyone is like filing in, is that Sam and Frodo have this look that they just give each other, and they've spent so long together over the past several months that it's almost like they don't need to say anything. They just their experience has been communication enough between them.
Right, it's like mutual caring. Like you can see, like Frodo, the way that he looks at him is that they don't say anything, but it's that just that there's that deep connection there. Yeah.
So we cut to black again, our second ending. And then we jump into our third ending, which is Aragorn being crowned King of Gondor.
Was it your favorite part?
It is my favorite part. It's actually, so this is the part where Aragorn discovers that Arwen hasn't gone off to the west. Right. She's still in the lands of men. It's a fantastic moment where not only is he becoming king and taking up his birthright, but his dream of, the woman that he loved has come true.
Right.
I love that Elrond is there as well. And you could see like the heartfelt like care that he gives or he has towards Arwen as he like kind of pushes her towards Aragorn. He really cares for his daughter, obviously.
Of course. But you know what's crazy though is, like, I mean, Elrond was really just like, everybody's doomed. All these people are doomed. They're all gonna die. They're not gonna survive. They're done. They're done. We're leaving. Let's go. These people are dead. They are dead. We're going. But no, they survived. Yeah, Elrond was like doom and gloom like the entire like movie. He's like, until like that last, until like when they reforged the sword, and he's like, there's only one way, and he needs to get the army of the dead.
Yeah.
But it was good that he was there, because it's like, bro, like, you're saying he's gonna die. Look, he's right there, and he took up his mantle as king.
Yeah, true. So then Aragorn and Arwen walk over, and you see the four hobbits, and they bow before the King of Gondor, and presumably the former or the future Queen of Gondor. And one of the best just moments in cinema for me is just Aragorn going, "My friends, you bow to no one." And it's one of the most humbling moments for the entire movie, the entire trilogy. It is the most humbling moment, where all of men bow before the lowliest of sentient beings, the hobbits, who if you really think about it, the entire story has revolved around. And
right,
they've done so much for the entirety of Middle Earth. And yeah, it's a fantastic moment.
And I'm glad that it really is like a nice moment, because like Aragorn does realize that if it weren't for Frodo and Sam, that peace wouldn't be there. They were the ones that got the ring to the point to where it was, and they cast it in, and Sam he was the backup. Sam was he like I said, like, just what everything that he went through and everything that he helped and pushed for Frodo, man, everything he endured. He is the hero, man. He is 100% the hero. He saved Frodo like countless times. Just made smart moves. I felt like his growth as a character was like one of the strongest in the stories. In the story, and he's definitely like one of my favorite characters, and I think that Sean Astin just like really knocks it out of the park. As that
totally
character.
Agree. Yeah.
Merry and Pippin, I mean, dude, they're straight up fighting wars, man.
And if you think about it, Merry saved Eowyn's life, who would be the successor to Rohan, and Pippin saved Faramir's life, who ends up marrying
and Gandalf.
Eowyn. And Gandalf, yeah. So all of them, they really go so far for the plot. And if you think about the scene, like, focuses in on Frodo's face, and he almost looks depressed. And I think it's because he realizes that Frodo realizes that he's pretty much failed in terms of, he didn't actually get the ring. He didn't throw the ring in, like, he would have kept the ring if it weren't for Gollum,
Yeah.
And it's almost like a depressing like thing to think about when you're looking at that scene, because he didn't. I don't think he feels like he is accomplished or he's worthy of the praise that everyone is like laying at his feet.
Right, and you see Pippin's face. He's kind of enjoying it a little bit.
Of course he is. Yeah.
Sam's kind of like not like he doesn't look like he doesn't have like that guilty look, but he's kind of like really. Mary's kind of enjoying it, but not the way that Pippin is. Pippin's kind of like oh, they're like, they're kind of like, oh, they're bowing to me. But I mean, it really was a nice moment, because I mean, they really are these like tiny creatures that, I mean, time and time again, that so many people have like, you know, had discounted them, and, you know, everybody thought that, you know, oh, they need help, they need this, but at the end of the day, it was hobbits that saved Middle Earth. You know?
Yeah, it's a story of how the smallest beings can make the biggest difference, and it's a fantastic story ultimately.
Yeah.
So next we have the fourth scene, which is, you know, them coming back to the Shire after 13 months to the day that they left, and or was it 13 months to the day of Weathertop? I don't know.
I think wasn't it 7 months since Weathertop?
13 months to the day since Gandalf sent us on our long journey.
Oh,
we found
okay.
ourselves looking upon a familiar sight. We were home. So yeah, it's a great little scene where they're coming into the Shire. They're kind of like gilded in like fine robes and like gold around their necks and stuff. But it's not until they're in the pub and you see life going on as usual for the hobbits around them. But the four of them, you know, it's got to be an allegory to veterans in war, you know, because after you experience something like that, where it's such doom and gloom and death all around you, and you're fighting for your life for who knows how long, to go back to normal life, it's just impossible. You know, there's always going to be that thing hanging over you. And that's what happens in the pub, where they're just all looking at each other like, here we are, you know, we did it. And it's a tough scene to watch, but you're happy for them. And also you realize that they yearn for adventure at the same time, because, which is it's exactly what Bilbo had, you know, that desire for adventure.
Yeah.
So that's a tough scene. But Frodo ends up writing the Lord of the Rings.
I know. That was the plot twist. It was really Frodo that wrote it. Was it Sam drank a little liquid courage? That's where, and you know, finally asked Rosie out.
About time. And I love that we don't even see what's happening on screen. Like in terms of like what he is doing with Rosie or whatever, but you see the like shocked looks on all the hobbits' faces, like, I can't believe he just did that, and then they just all start laughing.
Yeah,
and it's great because it's followed by a scene with Rosie and Sam getting married, and it just looks like a happy occasion. You know, it's something that Sam desperately needed in his life.
Right, and I mean, you know, that's something that he had talked about when, you know, he thought he was about to die.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that added to the courage too. But
oh, absolutely. No, I think
yeah.
After an experience like what he experienced, or what they experienced, plural, they're not going to take chances, you know, with their life. They're going to take it by the reins. You know?
Really,
I appreciate that.
Really, after that, he's like, you know, YOLO.
You only live once.
But yeah, that scene was nice. I liked how was it Rosie like threw the bouquet and Pippin caught it.
Yeah, what a freak. So we jump forward, and Frodo, 4 years later, is writing The Lord of the Rings, and he finally finishes it. And, you know, Sam comes over and he's just like, oh, you finally finished your book. And you see that it's connected to The Hobbit, you know, The Hobbit, and The Hobbit by Bilbo Baggins and The Lord of the Rings by Frodo Baggins. And Frodo says, you know, there's a little room for more. And it's he almost gives he gives the book to Sam to finish. And I almost think that this is like a symbolic thing where, you know, or a more meta thing, because the story did go on after that. You know, there were other evils that showed up in Middle Earth after Sauron, but Tolkien never finished any of those stories. You know, he started them, but he never finished them, and I think that scene is like kind of symbolic of that.
Right. And then I remember, was it Frodo was still complaining about the pain of like where he got stabbed on Weathertop.
Yeah, we spoke about it in I think part 1. Yeah, part 1 of this series, where it's almost like it wasn't necessarily a poison, it was almost like an evil that was like put into him, and it's almost it's a pain that would never go away. And we see that as, you know, as the elves give Bilbo the honor of traveling to the west with them, with their boats, they also, you know, tell Frodo to come along, and he does. You know, he's ready to take that next journey. I think it's more for his health than anything.
Along with Gandalf.
Along with Gandalf.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Remember, was it Frodo says that they set out to save the Shire, but it, you know, but not for him. But it wasn't for him.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, that was sad. You know, they, of course,
it's a very sad ending.
Right. Yeah. Of course, you know, the 3 other hobbits are pretty sad to see their friend go, but he knew that it was time for him to leave.
Yeah. And that's Lord of the Rings. Oh, one final scene. Sam has a lot of kids with Rosie Cotton.
Right, and Frodo has like a piece like written to him in that book when he gives it to him, because he gives him that book while they're at the harbor. Yeah,
you're right. But the goodbye with the 4 hobbits is just heartbreaking. You know, they don't want their you know, quad to be broken up a little bit. So
exactly,
it's tough to watch because you've grown to love these characters together.
Right.
But Frodo was always going to have to go on his own at some point. But anyway, that's the Lord of the Rings. We're coming up on 2 hours and 45 minutes on our discussion.
3 hours.
Really
almost.
quick. Like we have for the past 2 films, I want to discuss some of the Academy Awards that Return of the King won. And
we must.
It's actually it's
all of them.
Yeah, it won all 11 Academy Award nominations that it was given. So the film won 11 Academy Awards from 11 nominations, which is rare, you know? Like, usually films don't win every nomination that they're given.
Right.
But 11 is the record of the most Academy Awards any single film has ever won, tying with Titanic and Ben-Hur for most Oscar wins. So it's really a feat that this film was able to accomplish. It won Best Picture, obviously.
Yeah.
Best Director.
Yes.
Best Adapted Screenplay. Best Art Direction. Best Costume Design. Best Film Editing. Best Makeup, especially with the mouth of Sauron. Best Original Score. Best Original Song, which was Fran Walsh and Annie Lennox for the song Into the West. Best Sound Mixing and Best Visual Effects. It won all of those. I want to talk a little bit about the Best Original Score, because the Academy had to bend the rules for this one, because before Return of the King, they didn't allow sequels to be nominated if a previous film had been nominated in the series for Best Original Score. But they bent the rules for this one, and Howard Shore won again after winning for The Fellowship of the Ring.
They were like, yo, this movie the music is too good. Like, why can't we nominate this?
This is a stupid rule. Why is this a rule? But yeah, that's it, man. This is a fantastic series, and I just want to thank everyone who's made it through all of the 6 parts up until this point, because this is pretty much just as long, if not longer, than the entire trilogy. But we enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I'm glad that we actually finally finished this series. We've been wanting to for a while. I can't believe that our last episode, part 1 of this, was over a month ago. But I'm glad that we're at the point that we're finishing this series. I've been wanting to do it for a while. I just had to battle my way to it.
Yeah, seriously.
I had my own trek to Mordor.
You seriously did. So thank you guys so much for listening to us here at Project Geekology for our 33rd episode, the 6th of our 6-part discussion of the fantastic Lord of the Rings film trilogy. Next week, Anthony and I will be jumping into Loki Season 1, so be sure not to miss out on our discussion. Be sure to find all links to our show and socials in the show notes so you can keep up to date on all Project Geekology news and updates. If you enjoyed today's show, share it on social media, review it on your preferred podcast application, and talk to us directly online. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.